Hey team, and welcome to the anatomy of a secret. We're going to be looking at what a secret is, what a secret's made up of, and some of the settings and configuration that we can configure across any secret within your environment. Now, some of these components, such as secret templates and secret policies that we're going to be talking about, they'll be broken out into different sessions, so I'm not going to go into complete detail with those things. So what is a secret? A secret typically includes credentials, so a password, an API key, SSH key. It can be any of those types of things, and it is usually a privileged credential. So someone's going to be using this to log into a database or an administrator account or something similar. Because they come in lots of different forms, they do look different in Delinea, they're imported differently, and they come with lots of different settings. So let's go over some of those settings. If I click to open this secret now, you will see that every single secret looks very similar to this. So let's go from the top to the bottom. You'll have a bunch of different settings here that we will go through, but the details are super important. The details in a secret are going to be different depending on the type of secret. And the type of secret is defined by the secret template. Now the secret template, this will be a break-off subject that I'll go through in a lot of detail, but in summary, it basically determines which values are going to be here. So an Active Directory account has a domain value, a username, a password, and notes values. This is because typically an Active Directory account is reliant on a username and password, and it's typically associated with the domain as well. So we've got all of that important information related directly to an Active Directory account right here. As we go down, we can see the launchers. Now, the launcher is actually also specified in the secret template. We'll go into a little bit more detail into what that looks like soon. In this case, the RDP launcher will actually open an RDP session to the machine that you determine. So if we click on an RDP launcher now, it'll actually ask you to enter the computer's name on the network, and it will try and launch an RDP session using these credentials. So you won't have to actually grab these credentials and log in. It should pass you through. And remote access will do the same thing, but with the privileged remote access servers. So if you have privileged remote access, you'll use this if you're off the network and want to RDP or SSH. Now, if we had a different secret template, we may have a different type of launcher. We'll go through that in more detail, as I've said. Down here, we have expiration and heartbeat. For this secret, I've disabled heartbeat, but what a heartbeat's going to do is going to validate that that secret is current. So if you have a successful heartbeat on a secret, that means that the username and password are correct at the time of the heartbeat. Usually that happens every 24 hours, and you can set a custom expiry date here. So if you want it to be 30 days and you think that a secret should be rotated or the heartbeat should be determined if it's still online in 30 days, you can do that with an expiration. And finally, on this page, we have the folder name that it's in, and this secret is in my personal folder. Secret policy, which we'll go through in detail in another section, and the site. Now, the site is very important. The reason for this is because if you're going to be doing remote password changing, or you're going to be doing heartbeating, it's going to be reliant on the site. And the site is where you've installed your distributed engines. So if we have this domain, we want to make sure that this credential and this domain name is relevant to this site. So if the distributed engines are on a completely different domain, it might start failing heartbeating or might have trouble with password rotation. So when you're adding a secret, just make sure you grab that site and make it correct. Let's jump over to the security tab. You might see different options here in your security tab because it does depend on your licensing. Now it's a little bit annoying, but checkout and approval workflows are a different license, so you'll have to purchase them if you want these features. Now checking out a secret makes it so that if multiple people have access to this secret, when it's checked out, only the person who's checked it out can continue using it and see it for a time period. This time period can be customized. And approval workflows, before you can actually access the secret, you can create a workflow so that you need to go get approval from a manager or something similar. You can set multifactor authentication per secret. so you will need to fill out an MFA before you can access this. These are just some default password requirements, and these will change depending on the type of secret you're storing. And finally, you've got some other security options here. So requiring a user to make a comment before they access the secret. Quantum lock is supposed to be the ability to stop quantum computers from getting access to these secrets. Session recording. So there's a few different ways to do session recording. If you want to 100% get a session recorded, it's best to use the advanced session recording agent, but you can click this on and I see it as best effort. And finally, you can hide the launcher password. So if we go back to our example here in the overview, if you click that launcher password hidden, the user won't actually see this value, and instead they'll only use the launcher to get into their sessions if they need to. So if you have a user and you want to hide that password from them, that's a great option. If we move over to auditing, we'll see that there is a full audit on this secret. So you can see if I've viewed the secret, if I've updated it, if I've made some notes or changed a specific field. It's very, very specific. Remote password changing is an option across secrets, so you can go in here and assign a privileged credential in Active Directory to go ahead and rotate the password. I recommend doing this through a policy or a secret template because you can knock out a bunch of secrets all at once and you don't have to keep going and reconfiguring it every time. If you just use that secret policy, we can go back and assign the policy to the folder or to the secret, and remote password changing will be instilled on that secret. The sharing tab is very basic role-based access control. Now it looks a little bit funny because we're in my personal folder here. So a good example is to have a look at the sharing or permissions on another folder. So the permission sets come in two different types. One is folder permissions and the other one is secret permissions. And they're pretty similar. So you can be the owner, so you have full rights over this. You can be an editor, so you can edit the the folder. You can add a secret to this folder, or you can just view the folder itself. The secret permissions are pretty similar. So you have owner, editor, view, and then list and none. If you look at the documents that are provided, I actually have a very specific outline of what these folder permissions mean. If I just jump back into our secret over here, and we go to settings, you'll see that there's a bunch of settings in here that we can change. Now, the email notifications is a bit of a funny one. The email notification will only be enabled for the actual person who comes in here and checks the box. So if I do it in this account that I'm logged into, I will get an email when this secret is viewed or changed if I select these toggles. So there's no way to centralize sending this to an actual inbox at the moment or a mailbox. You'll have to go in here and enable these settings yourself. As for these other settings, these settings can actually be dictated in your secret policies. So I'm not going to go into these in detail. A lot of these options are basic RDP launcher settings that you might be familiar with based on other products and services that you've used in the past. But it's better to configure these with a policy to make sure that everyone has a standard level of access. The metadata tab, you can simply go in here and just add values to tie secrets together. So let's say they're all administrators or all a certain date or time that you want to permit. You can store those values here. Great, so that is the anatomy of a secret. Now, if you've come away from this video not feeling like an expert, I totally understand. Don't feel overwhelmed. As you start onboarding users and using the platform yourself, you're going to become more familiar with these settings. And you'll actually find that you probably won't go into a secret like this and start playing around with the settings yourself. You'll be defining a lot of this stuff in the broader settings and assigning them to policies and templates and different things. Great, well, that's the end of the anatomy of a secret.